I'm Ross Babick. I'm a solutions engineer here at Epicor Software. What that means to everyone on the phone is I am the demo guy, and I will be the one leading us through our kinetic journey today. So what we're looking at right now is Epicor Kinetic, and notice I am in the browser and I am running via a cloud environment. What we're looking at right now is what we call the active homepage, and the reason for adding the active in front of it is because I can do a few different things here. So I can get right into my specific screens, my customer tracker, opportunity quote entry, order entry, so on and so forth. But I can also get data directly onto my home screen and visualize it so I can best go through my day. So what we're looking at here in the middle with these different widgets, as we call them, are Epicor data discovery tiles. And what those allow us to do is display data in a tactical manner so that we can go best through our day dependent upon what role that I'm in my job. So I have a few here, top five customers, a 3D shop load. That's just an image overlay with data points and pulling data directly out of the system. So it's looking at a specific operation and a resource and then telling me what my estimated production hours are. And then a bar chart on the far right looking at my sales orders open count with count value. So I can hover over this. I can see that Addison has 24 orders out there, just under 600K. And then on the bottom, just some images that I have pulled in. But this home page, think of this as your first cup of coffee screen, your home base, your landing page. So anytime you hit this home button in the top left, this is where you're going to come. And just because mine looks this way, that definitely does not mean that yours, that the next customers, or the next SE's homepage is going to look like this. And that's by design. So I can come in here and I can go to change layout. Notice I have a few different types of layouts in here that I could go through and hop into should I have the security rights within the system. So think of this as a role-based or a departmental-based version of how we want to deploy the system to our different various users. Now, each user could go in if we want to give them the rights and start editing these screens as they want to. And if you have a modern smartphone, which I'm assuming most anyone does on this call, you should be able to use this snap into place grid style application-based feature of editing the home page. So I can, as you see here, I can resize my items. I can move them around should I want to add more tiles somewhere on my screen. And then on the right side of the screen, I can go in and I can add for different various types of tiles to my homepage. And I won't go through all these today, but the app link is going to be the link to the forms. The discovery chart view is going to be our charts in the middle, and then the image down here, that's our images. And there's a ton of different items here that we could dive into, but just for time purposes, we won't go through all of those. But once I get my homepage somewhere where I'm comfortable with, I simply just hit save. And now every time I log in as a user, this is what I'm going to be presented, obviously, until I go in to my actions icon up here, the ellipses, and edit or change that in the future. So now, how do I navigate the system? The bar on the left over here, this is going to be our taskbar, just like it would be on our Windows machine on the bottom, but this is our Epicor taskbar. We already mentioned the home button. The next icon down, this magnifying glass, is going to be our enterprise search. And I could go into that, search for customers, part numbers, whatever have you, filter it down, and get quickly into the actual raw data within the system. The next icon down here is going to be the full depth and breadth menu structure of the ERP application Kinetic. And you can see here, I can, just like we used to be able to do in the classic view, I can drill down into the different various hierarchical levels that I could say, hey, maybe I want to look at sales and I want to look at order management. And once I hit general operations, I'm then presented with everything that's in that specific bucket. Same goes for setup, and same goes for our reports. Those are going to be our printable SSRS reports, whether they're customer facing or just internal documents that we've created for us to track and trace as we're going through our day. The next icon down, that's going to be how we're going to go in and get into our Epicor data discovery or our widget library. So when I open that up, so this is where our entire Epicor data discovery library lives. So I could get into that 3D shop load that we saw. I could come in here and search for that top 5 customers pie chart that we had. And I could now click into that should I need to. And once I click into that, we can see the nuts and bolts of how these are actually created. And again, I'm not going to go super in depth here with how these are created and maintained, but just to give you a flavor of kind of how I can drag and drop different items into my grid view, we can do that here. All right, so that was Epicor Data Discovery, and I'm not going to open that up so we repeat the same error. But moving along, the next item down is going to be our Collaborate. And Epicor Collaborate, that's our internal communication, notification, and alert tool that we have built right into the application now within Kinetic. And within here, think of this as an internal communication like a Teams or a Slack, as well as an internal social media type tool that I can utilize to go through my day. So as I come in here, I would be presented with different chats that may be coming from people internally. I may be presented with notifications that are coming from different areas of the system. So you can see here, I have a few different chat bubbles coming. Brian Howard wants to know how that meeting with Addison went. Well, Brian asked, I'm not really sure because that wasn't my role, but I could simply go and say, hey, I can drop down, go right into that customer entry with the context menu and hashtag that's on Addison. I could go right to customer entry. I could go see the call information, see the note information, and get everything from there. I could also, I mentioned the social media aspect of this, I could go follow that specific customer. I could even follow specific parts, or I could follow specific things that may happen throughout the system. So I can be notified of those and anything that may happen with this specific record, in this case, a customer, as it's happening and as it's going through its tenure within the Epicor application and with our manufacturing company here. So I can get all the updates I may need based on that. If I hit my actions ellipses up here, that's where I can go in and I can start creating my different notification rules. If you notice that Brian Howard message was to a sales operations group, we can create teams or groups within this to be able to communicate with different folks in more of a focused bucket. Hey, just our sales ops or just our accounting or just our procurement team. And we can have those conversations there. Those groups also allow us to go outside the virtual four walls of Epicor and utilize our integration with Microsoft Teams. So you could have suppliers, customers, subcontractors tied to specific groups. They could be communicating with their Teams environment. We could be communicating within our Epicor Kinetic Collaborate environment, and we can have that one source of the truth conversation. We can share documents there, share images, whatever have you. And all of that information can be stored right in that group, so we have that there. Next item down on our list is going to be the help and support panel. So this is going to be filtered down based on what screen I'm on. So you notice it's giving me a tour of the home page, personalized home page, explore the home page, and there's a few different versions of how you want to be educated on this, right? So everyone has their own style, their own method of, or way they like to learn things, and we've kind of put those into a few different buckets here. The first of which being videos, and those are going to be short 2 to 3 minute YouTube style clips that you could go watch, learn, and follow along. Then there's going to be articles. These are just the bullet points. Hey, I want to quick read through it and I want to go do it myself. No problem there, you can handle that. And then we have our guided tutorials. That's the more interactive version where if I were to click on one of these, it would actually take me through and kind of highlight different areas of the screen and say, if you click this, it does this. If you click that, it does that. This is how you get to that. And that's how we can handle that there. And if I extend my help and support panel here, I have links to other things like our Epicor Learning Center. That's the replacement of embedded education. So we can log into that to go and assign courses and do training and things of that nature as well. Epic Care, that's our link right to support. Epic Web, if you need some more information on new modules or things like that, that's where you can go to get that information. And then about, that's just telling me about my specific system here. And then the little profile icon in the bottom, this is going to be letting me know what company I'm specifically logged into if we're in a multi-company environment, what site within that company if we have multiple, and then specific to my specific workstation or language that I prefer when I log in. I can also set up different keyboard shortcuts as I'm going through my day. So I could click that and add a Control S for save, Control R for reload, Control N for add a new line or a new record. So if you wanted to add that sort of ease of use and functionality, you could do that there with the keyboard shortcuts. And you can also do those on each individual screen that you may be coming into throughout your day. So now that we've kind of given you a tour and a high level view of the home page here, let's hop in and take a peek at a couple of the forms. So we're just going to start at opportunity quote entry here to give you a high-level view of what the new forms in Kinetic look like as compared to the previous versions of E9, early Epicor 10, so on and so forth. So we're coming into a quote now, and when we get in, we're going to be presented to a landing page, and that landing page is going to be housing all of the different information and all the different quotes that we may have in our system. So I could have, with this drop down, mine only has an all, but I could certainly set different filters that I may want. I only want to see ones that are quoted. I only want to see ones that are open. I only want to see some that are at a specific lead stage or task stage. You could certainly set those up in the setup of this screen. But what we're looking at now, high level, is that landing page that I was mentioning. And all the data is stored within what we call a panel card. And I can certainly open and close panel cards as I'm going through. And at the end of today's presentation, I'll show you how we can personalize and customize the different various screens as we go through. So as I open up a new record here, so we'll start a new quote, I'll be presented with the new version of that opportunity quote entry screen as it lives in Kinetic. And if this screen looks busy, there's too much information or not enough information, as I mentioned, we'll be able to talk about the personalization and customization features at the end. But let's go ahead and start creating a quote for my customer Addison. So we'll add Addison in, and obviously it pulls in all of their information as I expect, their sold to location, their ship to location. I could select a separate ship to or do a one-time ship to should I need to. Once I get all my information in this area filled out to a point where I'm comfortable with the information that I've high level opportunity quote details level, I can close that panel card and come back to it when I need to. Now notice I have my lines and a few different panel cards down here that I could open and jump into if I wanted to get more specific. But for today, what we'll do is we'll just go in, add a new line, and we'll get rolling with a more quote to shipment flow here as we get through the day. So I'll add a part here for just a standard frame rail that I have in my demo environment. And let's say we're gonna go ahead and quote out 100 of these. So now that I have that information in here, I could certainly scroll over and get any information I need, the unit price, what drawing may be tied to this, what product group it's in, is there a customer part reference that I have set up? Maybe, maybe not. But if I didn't want to scroll over, I could just click this line hyperlink, and that's going to bring me right into my quote details so I can get some more information on what we're looking at here. So again, all the same information that I would have seen if I scrolled over, just without having to scroll, I can see it here. So I have my quantities, my price pers, my price list if I want to override that. And as I scroll down, I can also open up new panel cards like, hey, maybe we have some quantity breaks that we've agreed upon with this customer or sent over to this customer prior. We can see that there. So a couple other things now that we have this quote all set up. So what we're looking at on the screen as a whole. So the top area of the screen, I like to call this my hero or crumb bar. So it's going to house any high level information about this quote. It's also going to allow me to jump into different quotes should I need to. So I could go to different areas of the quote, or I could go to different quotes as a whole if I had them loaded into my search on that last screen. And then what we're seeing here is just the high level information, the quote number, the line, what's the status of the quote, the total amount. Am I going to change the currency or stay with what came, from the specific customer that I'm working with? And then on the far right, this is going to be our new actions area. So this is where I could go in, add a new line, save my information, jump into the engineering portion of this specific quote. So if you're in a more engineer to order, custom manufacturing type mode of manufacturing, that's where you can go to pull in templates and massage your bombs and moms and get that information in there. And then a few things that I have specifically pulled out to display that aren't in my actions ellipses here are going to be my memos that I could get into. Maybe there's some notes that I want to add to this quote or notes coming over from this customer or from the part. I could see those there. My change log, that's going to be my date, user timestamp, full history, a full traceability of everything that's happening, who's interacting with this quote. Call log, so I can, on the CRM side, start tracking conversations, notes, information that I have coming back and forth with that customer. And then the paperclip, as you'd expect, that's going to be my attachments. So I could go in there, add new attachments, view them there, and have them so I can see them. We can also do quote as a whole specific attachments or line specific attachments, whether they're tied to the specific line or the quote as a whole. Going back to our details now, I mentioned we could use the actions ellipses to display more items, right? So any item that's in here, whether it's a print this quote form or create a sales order or, close the quote, reopen the quote, whatever that is, these can all be displayed out in my hero or crumb bar, as I mentioned, like those other buttons. But I like to keep mine neat and clean with just a few options out there. But from here, all we have to do once we go have that back and forth with our customer, maybe we involve some engineers to go into that engineering screen, or maybe it's just, hey, this is a standard price increase or price update for this quote, and we want to send that off to our customers. We can do that. And then once we agree upon that, right, we have all that back and forth, I can now go in and create my sales order. Simply push that button, and what that's doing is compiling all my data from this quote and pushing it over. And I'll be able to see that once that's complete. We'll give it a signed date. We'll just say, hey, this is a rush order. They want it tomorrow. That's just asking me if I want to apply that to everything that I had on my quote since I changed it. There's our PO. Maybe I want to give them a discount at this stage. Maybe I don't. We can set that up should we want to, and we can change our ship via terms or FOB. Again, should I have the proper security rights to do that? But once I now go in, I can create that order and it'll let me know, hey, your order's been created. Here's your order number, 5635. And from here, we can now go back to our home screen, pop into order entry, and then the top of the list, we'll be able to see that order that we just created. Now, there's really nothing else in today's flow that I'm going to go into on order entry, except for going into the specific line details so I could get a little bit more information. I can see what quantities I may have on hand. So let's say, hey, maybe I have enough of these on hand. The system's just going to tell me, hey, pull these out of stock if the part is set up that way. But since there's not enough here, obviously, I'm just going to go through a little bit of a manufacturing process. So from here, what we're going to do is we're going to pop into the planning workbench. We'll schedule, release this specific item to the floor as a job, and then we'll check out MES, now known as Epicor Data Collection. So back to my home page now, we can go into our planning workbench, and this is where we can obviously see any and all information from a planning standpoint, right? I can see anything that needs to be canceled, maybe some dates need to be changed, but down at the bottom, all of our new items, there's our DCD part from today. So I could grab that item, and then using my actions ellipses, I can go ahead and create that job. And while we're here, we have some different options, right? I could use the order release information as the job number. I could relate it to a different job. For today, again, and ease of use for our demo flow, I'll just use the next job number in line. And what we'll do here is we'll just get details. That's pulling in the method of manufacturing for this item and revision. We'll schedule it and release it. And now, just like we did when we pushed that quote to an order, we're pushing this order now to a job, and it's creating that item, and it's bringing us directly now to my specific job entry screen that was created. So similar look and feel. We have our crumb bar, we have our panel cards that we can open and close as we're going through high level information about the order. Notice my actions area is a little bit different. I only have a save item pulled out, but I could get in and do a little bit more information and do a little bit more functionality if I want to go in and split the job, see what my material status is, reschedule the job, take a peek at the job scheduling board. I could do that certainly. A couple things to point out though, since this is a make to order, we can go into the make to order detail and see any information coming from that order. And at this time, if you remember, I had 5 in stock. If I wanted to, I could say, hey, let's just pull those 5 out of our main warehouse since we have them, and then make the remaining 95 out of the box, make direct should we want to handle it that way. I'll just leave it without that. But again, you have the functionality there to do that sort of thing. Now, on the assembly side, this is going to give you a look at how we're structuring and setting up the method of manufacturing in Kinetic. So very similar to what it used to be with the tree structure in our classic views, E10, 9, so on and so forth. But it's a little cleaner. So I could go in and click and view my operations just like we used to. I can get into the specific operation detail should I need to. I could drill down and see the resources, any inspection plans or restriction plans that we have tied to that, right? And we can get into that information. Same goes for my materials. I have one material, doesn't look like I have any issues with it. I'd see a big red exclamation point next to that on that icon there. If I didn't have that in stock, I can get the part information there. My engineering tab gives me my part master, my operations master, and all these other areas I can pull information in from. And if I wanted to, I could say, hey, maybe I want to add, maybe they want a little bit different part. I can grab one of these, say this first one here, and I could just drag that right in to my material list. And now that item is going to be added, and I can go in, add quantities, things of that nature. Just for today's purposes, I'll remove that, but just showing the kind of easy use drag and drop functionality that still exists within Epicor Kinetic. So now that our job is already released, it's already scheduled, we can go right in now into MES, now known as data collection. Quick login here. So now I'm coming up to my shop floor terminal, my tablet, my desktop, my laptop, whatever I have that I'm going up to log into this specific job to see what I have to do next for the day as a shop floor employee. I can log in, whether I scan or just type in my employee ID number, I can do that. And that's going to log me in. And now I'm logged in as John J. Labor, shift 2. He's been logged in for quite some time, it looks like. He's getting paid a lot these days. But this is the new version of MES, as I mentioned. And as I said, data collection is what that is. And we have the different tabs up top. So I could go from production to material to package control, shipping, receiving, so on and so forth. But for today's purposes, we'll just stay high level like we have through the rest of our demo and go in, start production. We'll go find our job number. Let's do this the easy way. Just go grab that from back here, 2495. We'll just type that in rather than going and scrolling through there. If this was a multi-assembly or deep sub-assembly bill, I would be able to see all those here. We'll select the first operation. It's letting me know instead of a pop-up now in Kinetic, what we're going to be presented with is what we call sliding panels. So anytime there's either errors, warnings, things that you want to have pop up as people are doing things throughout their day, they're going to pop up in what we call a slide panel. So that's going to say, hey, here's a warning. You haven't done your setup operation. For today's purposes, we'll just kind of blow through that. There could be more strict, hey, you can't do this at all. Obviously, I have admin rights for today, so I'll just push through that. And now that we're set up, I'm on my shearing machine, this Amada. I'm logged into Op10 of job 2495. Before I start, I could certainly get more info that's going to present me with any comments or work instructions that were entered upstream, whether that be at the quote, the order, the job, wherever have you. I could also get documents. So if I have drawings or items or videos for how to set up or how to run this operation, those could be tabbed or tagged in there as well. And I could pull those up right on my device that I'm using. And so I have all the information I need there. But I hit OK. And now my queue is I can see what I'm working on. And as simple as it needs to be, I can now go in and end that specific activity, say how many I completed. At this stage, I could print tags. If I did have an inspection plan tied, I could enter my inspection data right here. Scrap, non-conformances, reason codes, request move, PCID, lot numbers, serial numbers, all here. And those would just be new slide panels that come out just like my end labor activity. But once I'm done, I can now go ahead and finish this. Again, here's another one of those slide out warnings. I call this my high five warning. You did a little bit too fast there, John J. Labor. But that's fine for today. And we'll blow through that and complete this. And now we'll go create that shipment. And then we'll talk about our personalization and customization tool sets. So we'll get into the shipping and receiving here. Open up customer shipment entry. Create a new packing slip. We'll go grab our order number. There it is with our PO number of cloud from our customer. Now I can go down and use a couple of my action buttons that I have pulled up. So first is going to be mass ship. That's going to go pull in the line information. And then ship all is going to ship all of our completed quantities. Now, again, I didn't obviously go through every operation, but since I have the admin rights in my demo environment set up a little bit differently than a real life environment, it's pulling in that 100 completed job shipment quantity here coming in. Now that I'm done, I could certainly go out, I could freight this, pull in tracking numbers, I could add weights, package sizes, package classifications, any information that I want to pull in to get those DIMs and send those out. I can do that, but for today, we'll just mark that as shipped and wrap up the flow. So that completes the quote to shipment flow as we went through it today. So we're going to go back to our main homepage now. We'll talk about personalization and customization for a brief minute here, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. So we saw the personalization on the home screen with the edit icon, but when I get into my actual entry screen, so we'll open up a quote here, and we'll open up our quote that we created. What we can do is a couple different things to tailor the screen to the specific user or specific type of user that's logged in. First of which being a personalization. So the personalization is going to allow me as a non-IT user to come in and start just toggling off different areas of the system that I don't need. Let's say I just want to clean this screen up completely and hide everything on the bottom except my lines and quote details. I could even get into my specific fields that are in there. I could say I don't want this to start expanded, or I do, and I could get into my quote details and I can start hiding specific fields. I could hide the customer, the address, should I not want to see that, so on and so forth. But for today, we'll just hide a couple of those panel cards. And when I save that off now, we'll close this so we can see all the cards. Notice there's nothing below it. I only have my quote details and line information. So that screen, it may be a little bit cleaned up, a little bit more user-friendly. I don't have to look at all this information. Keep it simple, enter the information I need, and move on. I still do have access to all those areas through the tree structure here, right? So I could get to my miscellaneous charges, my tax information, my worksheet, so on and so forth. But rather than having them on my main screen here, I could just have those be their own. I can click on it and I can get to it. Now, for either our subject matter experts or more technically IT inclined folks, we can use the more customization tool known as Application Studio. So within App Studio, again, this is an all low code, no code environment. And I can go in, and now when I get into my quote details panel card here, notice there's that panel card. I can start reorganizing this should I want to, right? So maybe I don't want this bill to information here. I want to drag it all the way over here. I want to bring my summary right under my quote information, right? I can do that information and reorganize the screen however I want. And then on the right side, I could start adding user-defined media, right? I can add a new column, I could add a new button, a new checkbox, a new field, and then I could tie that specific field or checkbox to a specific database table entry field for me to do that there. I could also add widgets. So I could say, hey, I want to add one of those Epicor data discovery widgets that we talked about earlier. I want to add that right to my quote. I want to see some metrics. I want to publish and subscribe it to the specific customer. And I can bring that view right in here. And then once I'm complete, I can just save that off, publish my layer, and move on and have that new, reorganized, more comfortable view for me or my other users. So that wraps up everything I had today, and I might have taken it a little bit too far over time, but we can open it up for questions now, and I can pass the ball back over and stop sharing.